Do you remember Internet Explorer? Okay, how many of you remember Internet Explorer? Sorry, how many of you worked with Internet Explorer 6? Whew. Okay, keep your hands up. Okay, and who then had the delight to get to know JQuery, the savior, the right hand? Okay, a clap to you. You went through the dark ages of web development. And I wanted to start this talk with jQuery because that's the first time when I got a how convenient moment in web development. I was in high school in that moment, and there was this incredible new developer experience where you don't have to take the class list property, split it by spaces to just add a class, or you can actually get the text and the HTML separately. And I was like, okay, this is really convenient. And I had this how convenient moment some other times during my developer career. Once was when I discovered Laravel, and the last time was when I discovered Quasar. So, welcome to Quasar. This will be an introduction to the Quasar framework. I will be your guide. How many of you already knows Quasar? Okay, not so many. Okay, that's fine. I'm here for that. So, as you can see, okay, I have my own company, DreamMonkey. I'm into the Quasar core team. I focus mainly on TypeScript and automated testing. Quasar, to me and to us in the company, has been an endless provider of how convenient moments. And since we found it in 2019, I think, yeah, we decided to invest some time in it and get it even better. So we'll do a review of what we can see with Quasar. So we'll take our spaceship and we'll see first what we can see from afar, like if we look it through a telescope, and then we'll land on this new world. We'll try to see what it has to offer if you stay there in the long run, and then which kind of integration it can provide us if we need more firepower. So let's first contact. So what is Quasar? I'll ask you one better. Why is Quasar? Okay, Quasar it follows the same principle of jQuery and Laravel, as I said. The idea is to streamline the development and to centralize as much as possible everything you need without you to add multiple dependency around. Okay, so it tries to not get into your way, to be as flexible as possible, to be extremely performant by default, and it has a really nice documentation. Like, the documentation is actually a kind of an explanation on how to be a web developer. Like, many times I found some gems into the documentation which aren't about the framework, which are more about, okay, I have to manage the icons for my project, like we said before, like 20 icons. Okay, why do I need them? And then there's the explanation and in-depth links to some articles. I think I used the documentation just to do a presentation at some point. They didn't complain, so I guess it went well. Then it's zero configuration. It starts. You just yarn create Quasar or npm create Quasar or pnpm. Now everyone is using that one. So pnpm use create Quasar, and you get a fully working application. Then we have a lot of first-party integration with popular technologies. Okay, I put here Next 80% Next plus 90% Vueday, plus something else equal Quasar, maybe after the thing that Daniel presented us today is 70% next, 60%, okay, we'll catch up, don't worry. Okay, let's continue by checking out the surface. So what will we see when we get into the Quasar world? Okay, first of all, to the ones who said already knew Quasar, do you know Quasar for its UI library or also for the CLI? So UI library, also CLI. Okay, there's literally 4. So okay, you don't know much about the CLI. That's perfect. Okay, so let's start with the UI components for the other ones who doesn't know about it. So we have more than 70 components based on Google Material Design. We're working on implementing themes. We'll get there eventually. It's usable everywhere. We actually get many times the request to use Nuxt plus Quasar. And we are right now undergoing an accessibility review to see to fix to enhance the support. Let's see some of the best ones. Well, the best ones, in my opinion, of course. We just talked about forms, so of course, let's start with the forms. With forms, there's like QInput, QSelect, QField. The interesting thing here is we have multiple ways of showing everything, even if it's always material design. We have multiple styles to show everything, and we try to pack all the possible slots you may need to just enter and start. So the thing I prefer, a really small thing with the QSelect, the ability to provide asynchronous options is the one that amazed me the most. So you can provide a waiter and it will automatically manage the loading and showing the loading image. And then we have the QField. So QInput and QSelect already implement the QField. The QField is like a generic wrapper which can be used to add placeholders, hints, errors, validation in general to all your components. Like not only to input components, or you can create your own input components and then wrap it into a QField to get the same experience as all the other forms. Of course, here there's just the QInput and QSelect, but there's also the Q checkbox, Q date, Q color picker, and a lot of others, which you can, some of them you can pick, you can see there. So a date, time, even a knob. Let's move to the Q table. Okay, I wouldn't be it's not possible to just fit all the features in the Q table in a single talk. So I will just name a few of them, which I find pretty convenient, which is virtual scrolling implemented by default. There's like sticky header, pagination, inline editing. But the important bit in this Q table is that it's fully customizable up to the single cell. So if you need to fix, like to change only this small cell, you will have a slot. If you need to change this header, you have a slot. If you need to change the pagination, you have a slot. There's a slot for everything you will probably need, you will possibly need. Another interesting thing which we use many times in my company is the grid style. So you can switch pretty seamlessly between a list, between rows and cards. This is pretty useful. Like think about, I guess, Google Drive. There's all the rows, and then it switches, and you can see the cards. Another one, which is okay, this isn't part of the core components, and we'll see later on how to add an extension. But this is probably one of my favorite components. It's the Q Calendar, and it's a clone of Google Calendar. But then you can also get the agenda view, the mini mode, the resource, the scheduler. You can basically use it with everything. This is from Jeff from the core team. This is a first part, one of the many first part integrations we have in Quasar. But it's not only about components. If you use the UI or you know the UI, you know there's a lot of utils which kind of bring forward the how convenient pattern in Quasar. Some of my favorites are the date utils, for which I think it's been years since last time I installed Moment or Luxor. Colors, which I don't know if you ever had to do colors calculations to, I don't know, make it a little brighter, a bit less brighter. It's like impossible math to me. Luckily, Quasar got me covered. And then there are some smaller utils, which I found really interesting. Export file, which seems easy until it isn't. And the copy to clipboard, which by now you will guess it has been standardized, more or less. Then we have the morph, which is probably one of the strangest one of them all. Like you just provide an element, and you tell them, okay, I want it to see like in another way with another CSS class, and just okay, and then does the transformations for you. Basically, if you just access to the Quasar docs and check out the morph, I'm still amazed every time I access that that page. So that was a quick overview of some of my favorite components of Quasar. Let's get to setting up a base camp. So we have been there for a while, and we want more, or we want to know what we can do if we stay there for a bit longer. Okay, so Quasar is mostly known. It is somewhat known for being a cross-platform framework. It's actually internally in Remonkey we use it for a lot of different things, mainly website and web apps, but it does have many integration to create cross-platform applications. So you can use the Quasar CLI. There is a Quasar CLI, which is highly configurable, and it basically tries to do most of the things that the Nux CLI now does. And we, another bit, the icons generation. As we said before, we saw before, there's like 20 different icons. Quasar has a CLI, dedicated CLI, with just one command, and your base icon will generate all those icons automatically. You can get you can provide the background, color and whatever, and also the code you just need to copy paste into the index HTML. So let's focus on the build modes. We have the SPA, of course, which is the default. We have the PWA, SSR, SSG. You can actually see this is how you add the new mode. You just run a command, and you get the new mode installed. You can get SSR plus PWA together. We don't currently support SSG into the core of the Quasar CLI, but we do support it via a third-party app extension from Freddy, one of the contributors. And those are just the web targets. Let's move to the more interesting ones. Oh, every time you run this command, so Quasar mode add PWA or SSR, a new folder is generated, and everything is managed by you under the hood to make it work. And that's the same thing which happens if you use the cross-platform targets. So you get the you install automatically, the Quasar CLI will automatically install the Electron to run on Linux, Mac, Windows, and you will also just need to run Quasar mode add Capacitor to have a working build for Android and iOS. Okay, that's probably too far. You still need to install Android Studio and Xcode, but that's out of our scope. We cannot do much about it. There's also some exotic targets, which we don't usually see covered, which is, for example, the browser extension, the Bex mode, which allows you to create an application for browser extension, for Chrome browser extensions in particular. And that's it for the build modes. So let's check out a bit more integrations. What we can see, okay, we already saw two of them, which is the Q calendar and the SSG mode. So to install an app extension, we call our integration or plugin as app extensions. You just run Quasar xadd and then the ID. You can get additional modes. You can get additional components. Okay, I mentioned the Q calendar, but there's like Q markdown, which allows you to write the markdown inside a component running the markdown and compiling the markdown. I didn't mention it in the core. We also have what you see is what you get Q editor, which is pretty cool. And of course, there's the automated testing, which supports Cypress, Jest, and Vitest. Mainly Cypress and Vitest. Jest, after the advent of Vite, is kind of a bit dying. Any other kind of tech? Okay, and an example of all the other kind of techs is the Apollo and GraphQL app extensions, which will automatically scaffold and make everything work for you. As I said, usually Quasar is only seen as a cross-browser or, sorry, a cross-platform or a UI library, but we actually used it in many different ways. It's so flexible, you can use it pretty much in every context. So static website, full deliveries, I won't read them all. So I think I'm a bit early, possibly, but okay, if you need help with your spaceship, which means if you need consulting or web development or anything else, or if you're searching for a new crew, we have you covered, basically. Thank you. Okay, here I left some useful resources with which are mainly made for people reading it later on. And I think I went a bit too fast. Go on.
So can we give a big round of applause?
Thank you.
Like, you just get the impression that everything has been put together so beautifully with like a lot of focus on the user, which is beautiful. Questions? Anyone have any questions for Paolo?
We don't have the microphone.
A microphone right at the back.
Yeah, so in my experience, when there's always this debate between going all custom with maybe some atomic CSS sprinkled in, or using something pre-constructed, something like Quasar, something like Beautify. Why did you decide to create such a tool? And what is your argument against going custom when you have to build something custom, really custom, and what is your argument against it, and why would you use something like Quasar instead?
Okay, let's start with the mystification. I'm not the lead developer of Quasar. I'm one of the member of the core team. When coming to the let's make something atomic or let's make something which is better included, I think it really depends on your use case. But in Quasar case, we also expose everything. So of course there's the Quasar configuration, and if you needed to integrate it with something else, or you need to change something inside the core of the Quasar configuration, you can just provide it. As you can provide something, you can provide a configuration also for Vite and Vue and everything else which is used underneath. So it's not really about, okay, we won't let you do it. Is okay, you get everything set up from zero, and you can just use it as is. Or if you are more skilled or you have more different needs, you can just customize it as you wish.
Any other questions?
Hey, thanks for the really cool presentation. That looks really powerful toolkit. Does it work with server components?
With server components? No, we don't really. We are not into server components. I'm afraid that we are not really into server components.
Got it. Thanks.
Why?
You won't hurt any feelings. That's fine.
No, it's not like it's just something like for how Quasar has been created, we just don't feel they are needed. Like there is the ability to add some kind of course, to support SSR and to make some components work only on the client and not on the server, and not build on a server. But using server components just isn't something we have looked into. It's not like we have hard feelings against them.
Other questions? Well, thank you very much. That was a fantastic talk. Could I have a round of applause, please, for Paolo?